The Montreal Canadiens trade situation changed fast. A major name returned to NHL trade boards. The Olympic trade freeze is still active. The March 6th deadline is getting closer. And now, pressure is building around Kent Hughes as the market tightens. The current NHL trade freeze remains in effect due to the Olympic break. According to league operations guidance, the freeze will lift at 11:59 p.m. Eastern on February 22nd. Until that moment, no trades can be officially processed. Teams are limited to discussions and internal evaluations. During this pause, new reporting placed Montreal back into active trade conversations involving a high-profile forward. Multiple trade tracking outlets relisted the player as being monitored ahead of the deadline. That development placed the Canadiens directly into renewed speculation. General manager Kent Hughes has not confirmed any finalized move. However, league reporting in the last 24 hours indicates Montreal is evaluating roster flexibility and cap structure as part of its deadline framework. The organization is balancing competitive positioning with longer-term planning. The Canadiens entered this season in a development phase. Over recent weeks, internal improvement has been noted, including stronger production from younger players. Juraj Slafkovsky scored twice in Slovakia's Olympic opener, drawing league-wide attention during international play. His performance adds another variable to Montreal's forward evaluation process. The Olympic tournament has temporarily shifted focus away from NHL action. However, front offices continue to operate behind the scenes. General managers across the league are using this window to reassess needs before the trade freeze ends. For Montreal, recent trade reporting centered on forward depth and contract management. The Canadiens have salary commitments that require careful navigation before absorbing additional contracts. That financial structure directly impacts what type of move is realistic before March 6th. Several teams around the league have recently pulled players off the market, shrinking available inventory. That reduction affects all buyers, including Montreal. Fewer available forwards mean increased demand for those who remain listed in trade discussions. League insiders reported that Montreal has monitored multiple scenarios, including potential hockey trades rather than rental acquisitions. A hockey trade typically involves exchanging roster players with term remaining on contracts. That type of move can preserve long-term balance. Kent Hughes has previously emphasized patience in roster building. During past media availabilities this season, he has stated that the organization will not rush decisions that compromise future flexibility. While no direct new quote was issued in the past 24 hours, current reporting reflects continuity in that approach. The Canadiens' current record places them in a competitive but uncertain position within the Atlantic Division. That standing shapes deadline calculations. Teams firmly outside playoff contention often sell assets. Teams securely inside tend to buy aggressively. Montreal sits in a middle zone, which complicates direction. As of this week, trade boards show rising interest from other clubs in scoring wingers. Demand across the league increases leverage for selling teams. That dynamic could raise acquisition costs for Montreal if it chooses to proceed. At the same time, speculation regarding one Montreal forward's future gained traction. The player's contract structure and cap hit make him a discussion point among analysts. No official statement confirms an active trade request. However, league chatter has connected his name with potential partner teams exploring scoring upgrades. This renewed attention follows a quieter stretch earlier in the season. The timing aligns with the approaching deadline window. Once February 22nd passes, teams will have roughly 12 days before March 6th to finalize transactions. The Canadiens' front office must weigh multiple factors during that short period. These include current roster chemistry, long-term development of prospects, draft capital, and financial constraints. Slafkovsky's Olympic showing adds context to the forward group's trajectory. International performances often influence perception across the league. Strong play can increase a player's market value or reinforce internal confidence in retaining certain assets. Montreal's leadership structure also shapes decisions. Head coach Martin St. Louis continues to oversee a roster that blends youth and veterans. Coaching deployment trends may factor into trade discussions if certain players are used in reduced roles. League sources in the past 24 hours emphasize that Montreal has not publicly committed to being a buyer or seller. That ambiguity is strategic. It prevents other teams from gaining leverage during negotiations. The trade market this season has shown volatility. Earlier rumored targets around the league have either signed extensions or been removed from availability. This has narrowed choices for multiple teams. For the Canadiens, that contraction increases urgency. If management identifies a preferred move, waiting too long could eliminate the option entirely. The March 6th deadline is firm. After 3 p.m. Eastern on that date, no further trades are permitted until the offseason. This timeline compresses decision-making into a limited span once the freeze lifts. Montreal's current cap space will determine flexibility. Absorbing a significant contract may require moving salary in return. That can complicate negotiations. League analysts note that hockey trades are harder to complete than rental deals because both teams must exchange present value. Montreal's willingness to consider either route remains under evaluation. The phrase, "trade plans destroyed," reflects how quickly circumstances have changed. Within days, fresh reporting reshaped perception of availability and leverage. Kent Hughes and his staff continue internal meetings during the Olympic pause. Scouting departments are compiling updated reports. Conversations with other general managers remain ongoing, even if no transactions can yet be finalized. The Canadiens' position is not static. Standings could shift before the deadline. Injuries across the league may create new demand. Contract talks in other cities may reopen unexpected options. All of these elements intersect within the next 2 weeks. Montreal's approach must account for competitive goals, financial structure, and player development. Public reporting confirms the organization is actively reviewing those layers. When the freeze lifts at 11:59 p.m. Eastern on February 22nd, the next phase begins. From that moment until March 6th, trade activity across the NHL is expected to accelerate. For now, the Canadiens remain in evaluation mode. Trade boards show their name attached to renewed speculation. League insiders continue to monitor developments closely. The deadline clock continues to move forward.
Canada opens their chase for Olympic gold with a 5-0 win over Czechia. And here to talk about it is Marty Biron. So, Marty, right off the bat, what was the biggest reason for this Canada win?
Well, I look at the skill level, right? Team Canada's skill level, when you look at the forwards, is like, and unlike any other teams, like they are so far and above beyond like any teams in the tournament.
Silence fell over the arena as Team Canada did more than win. They sent a message. Sidney Crosby didn't just wear the captain. He controlled the pace, the bench, and the moment. 5 goals, 0 against. A shutout that shook Czechia. But what happened behind the plays showed why this captaincy could change the entire Olympic tournament.
Team Canada, they're only going to get better from here. They were really sharp. They had things really figured out in the offensive zone, and that is only going to get better. That's only going to become more dangerous for the opposition as this tournament goes on.
Sidney Crosby entered the 2026 Winter Olympics as captain of Team Canada. Hockey Canada officially named him captain before the tournament began. This marked his return to Olympic play after more than a decade. He previously won gold medals in 2010 and 2014. In 2010, he scored the overtime goal that secured Canada's gold medal. Now he was back in charge of a new generation. Canada opened the tournament with a 5-0 win over Czechia. The result was clear and dominant. Nathan MacKinnon scored. Bo Horvat added a goal. Nick Suzuki scored. Mark Stone contributed. 19-year-old Macklin Celebrini also scored in his Olympic debut. The scoring came from multiple lines. That showed depth and structure across the roster. Connor McDavid served as alternate captain. He recorded 3 assists in the game against Czechia. His passing directly led to goals. After the match, McDavid spoke about Crosby's leadership. He described Crosby as a calming presence. That quote reflected how the leadership group functioned inside the locker room. Jordan Binnington started in goal and stopped all 26 shots he faced. The shutout prevented Czechia from gaining momentum. Canada did not allow a goal in any period. The defensive coverage stayed organized. Players blocked lanes. They limited rebound. That level of control reflected preparation and discipline. Head coach John Cooper addressed the team's mindset after the game. He noted that the group did not act with entitlement despite its star talent. He emphasized emphasized unity and collective effort. His comments connected leadership to team culture. Crosby's role extended beyond scoring. As captain, he led bench communication and shift management. Olympic tournaments move quickly. Early games shape standings and confidence. The 5-0 result placed Canada in a strong position in group play. The game against Czechia was Canada's first Olympic appearance with NHL players since 2014. Expectations were high. The performance matched those expectations. 5 goals scored, 0 allowed, 3 assists from McDavid, 26 saves from Binnington. Crosby returned to Olympic ice as captain. The opening win showed structure, control, and leadership from the first puck drop. The impact of Crosby's captaincy was confirmed even before the puck drop. When Hockey Canada announced him as captain, they reported that he had already won 2 Olympic gold medals. That history placed him as the most experienced leader on the roster. His return connected the 2010 and 2014 championship teams to the 2026 squad. Connor McDavid's 3 assists were direct factors in the scoring play. He did not score, but he influenced multiple goals. His role as alternate captain supported Crosby's leadership. After the game, McDavid again referred to Crosby as a calming presence. That remark carried weight inside a roster filled with NHL captains and all-stars. Crosby's Olympic record added context to his authority. In 2010, he scored the overtime gold medal goal in Vancouver. In 2014, he captained Canada to another gold medal in Sochi. His leadership in those tournaments remains documented in Olympic record. Now, in 2026, he leads again. Head coach John Cooper stated that the team played without entitlement. He emphasized that star power alone does not win games. The 5-0 result came from structured play and discipline. Canada scored in different situations and maintained defensive balance. 5 separate players scored against Czechia. That spread of offense showed depth. The shutout showed defensive control. The captaincy decision placed Crosby at the center of both. The opening game established Canada's position in the tournament standing. It also reinforced the leadership hierarchy announced before the Olympics began. The structure held firm from the first shift to the final horn.
For the captain of Team USA, Austin Matthews, where does he slot in terms of players feeling pressure and expectations coming into this tournament?
I think he's at the top of the list. I really do. I think for a number of reasons. What you just said about the history of USA Hockey, like they have to pounce. They believe in their program. They're a great program. They're a great team. They should have gold medal ambitions, right? They had championship ambition at the Four Nations face-off, and they got all the way to overtime, and they almost got it done.
The road to Olympic gold in Milano Cortina will not be easy. 2 hockey giants, Canada and the United States, are bringing superstar talent, heavy pressure, and huge expectations. But this tournament may come down to just 2 names, Cale Makar and Austin Matthews. One controls the ice from the blue line. The other carries a nation's hopes on his stick. As the Milano Cortina Winter Olympics get closer, the spotlight is shining bright on men's hockey. Fans are excited because this is best on best hockey, the world's top NHL stars playing for their countries. For Canada and Team USA, the stakes feel even higher. Both teams are loaded with talent, but their paths to gold may depend on very different X factors.
Studded talent, but there's got to be one player, Brian, you have in mind who you feel will be the most important for Canada as we get set to start this Olympic tournament on Thursday.
Yeah, I think it's Cale Makar. I do. I think it's Cale Makar, and I think it's Makar by a landslide, Jay. I really do. And I know people are going to look to the goaltending, and I understand that it's a prominent position. They still have to figure out exactly who that guy's going to be. And I know McDavid's important, and McKinnon's important, and obviously the captain, Sidney Crosby. But I think the drop-off from Cale Makar to whoever you believe is the second best, most impactful defenseman on this team is a massive discrepancy. Much more of a discrepancy between McDavid and McKinnon.
For Team Canada, one player stands above the rest in importance, and it's not Connor McDavid or Sidney Crosby. The biggest difference maker could be defenseman Cale Makar. That might sound surprising because Canada has so many superstar forwards. But hockey is not just about scoring. It's about controlling the whole game, offense, defense, and transition. That's where Makar becomes priceless. Analyst Brian Hayes calls Makar Canada's most important player because of what he calls the gap theory. This means the talent drop between Makar and the next Canadian defenseman is much bigger than the gap at forward positions. If McDavid has a quiet game, Nathan MacKinnon can step up. If Crosby slows down, other elite centers can fill minutes. But on defense, there is no true replacement for Makar's skill set. Makar does everything at an elite level. He skates like a forward, defends like a veteran shutdown player, and runs the power play with calm control. He moves the puck out of danger faster than almost anyone in the world. That ability helps Canada spend less time defending and more time attacking. In Olympic hockey, where games are tight and mistakes matter, that puck movement is gold. Because of his value, experts believe Makar could play huge minutes, maybe even 30 minutes in a gold medal game. That's half the game. Very few players can handle that load without breaking down. But Makar's conditioning, hockey IQ, and skating allow coaches to trust him in every situation, even strength, power play, and penalty kill. Health, however, is the one shadow hanging over Canada. Baker previously missed the Four Nations face-off due to injury. That absence showed how vulnerable Canada can look without him. Their breakouts were slower. Defensive coverage looked shakier. If Canada wants Olympic gold, they likely need Makar healthy from start to finish. Without him, their championship odds drop fast. While Canada's pressure sits on one defenseman, Team USA's pressure centers on one forward, Captain Austin Matthews. This tournament could define Matthews' legacy. Team USA has not won Olympic gold in the NHL best-on-best era, which began in 1998. That drought hangs heavy over American hockey. Many believe this current roster is the strongest the US has ever iced. Deep, fast, and skilled at every position. Because Matthews is the captain and biggest superstar, the spotlight burns hottest on him. He will be expected to score in big moments, lead emotionally, and deliver when games are on the line. That's where the pressure builds, because fair or not, Matthews carries a reputation for not always being clutch in the biggest games. If the US falls short, especially if Matthews struggles offensively, the criticism will be loud. Fair or unfair, captains carry the emotional weight of wins and losses. That's the burden of leadership. Matthews isn't just playing for medals, he's playing for legacy. What makes this Canada versus USA storyline so compelling is the contrast in pressure points. Canada's hopes may rest on a defenseman controlling the entire flow of the game. Their success depends on structure, transition, and blue line dominance through Makar. The United States' hopes may rest on a goal scorer delivering signature moments. Their success could hinge on Matthews finishing chances and leading the offense when it matters most. It's control versus clutch, structure versus scoring, blue line versus goal line. And when these teams collide, those storylines will crash together on the ice. Olympic hockey always creates heroes. Sometimes it's expected stars, sometimes it's unlikely names. But heading into Milano Cortina, two players sit closest to the pressure spotlight. If Cale Makar dominates minutes, drives possession, and shuts down opposing attacks, Canada's gold path becomes clear. If Austin Matthews scores timely goals, leads confidently, and breaks America's gold drought, he changes his career narrative forever. That's why this Olympic tournament feels so massive. Not just for nations, but for legacies. Because in the end, gold medals don't just crown teams, they define players.